so many things that are hidden in the blues that you can discover, and today is one of those things that was under your fingers for so long and you may have missed it. It's a really cool concept. It has to do with a 4-note arpeggio that is secret within the blues scale, and that's coming up. Hi, my name is David Wallerman. Welcome to this channel, which is all about helping guitar players like you find their voice, develop it to tell your own musical story. Today, we're back with the blues. This has been the subject for a few lessons now because there's so many things that you can discover, and hopefully today is going to be a game changer for you. Oftentimes, guitar players rely on, the first position of the minor pentatonic scale, and then they add the blue note to create the blues scale, this kind of thing. It sounds great, it always works, but after a while it can get a little repetitive and predictable. Today, we're going to take a look at that blues scale. We're going to look at the construction, and hopefully you're going to start to see something really interesting that is hidden in there. Let's take a look at the close-up. For this, we're going to consider a blues in G. Here's the first position of a G minor pentatonic scale, which is usually the scale that people start learning. It has 5 notes, and it's built in this area of the fretboard right here. We've got 2 notes per string, and it's on the screen for you. We've got frets 3, 6, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, and 3, 6. That's a standard minor pentatonic scale, and if I just use that over my blues, it's going to work great. Okay, no problem there. Now we're going to embellish that a little bit by adding the blue note, which is a passing tone, and it's the note found between the 4th and the 5th. So it's a diminished 5th or an augmented 4th. Usually it's referred to as the diminished 5th. It's that note right in between. Now that note is going to clash with the chords, but that clash, if used, if not overdone, is going to add a really nice blues flavor. That's what creates the blues. So let's hear that. Use the minor blues scale. That's the blue note. So as we were playing this, we just need to remember that that blue note, which is the flat 5, found here and here within that position, those are tensed notes that we're going to add flavor. Now you can land on those, just know that it's going to be a little tense. But that's what people are used to playing, and a lot of successful guitar players have made a career with just that scale. It's an awesome scale to use. Now, if we look at that scale, we have some strong notes, which are the notes of the minor pentatonic scale, and a weaker note, which is as cool as the strong notes. It's just a tensed note, that flat 5. Now, if we look at that full scale, which is now a 6-note scale, what do you see? Well, you see notes, but now take a look at this. I'm going to highlight some notes. What is that? That is a half-diminished arpeggio, which typically is associated with the Locrian Mode. Now, the Locrian Mode and our blues in G don't have much in common. If I play a G Locrian here, it's going to sound pretty horrible. It doesn't work. But if I play that arpeggio, the half-diminished arpeggio, which is also found in the Locrian Mode, which is just a side note, it's going to work because the notes of the half-diminished arpeggio are found in my minor blues. Now, as I was playing this, it was very scolar. It didn't really sound musical. But if I, every once in a while, inject into my phrasing, my storyline, I call this a story. Improvisation is a story that you're telling in a setting that is the backing track. Well, if you inject that new way of organizing the notes, it's gonna trigger some new ideas in you. I'm gonna play a little bit. Most of the improv is gonna focus on a minor blues scale, G minor blues, throughout the chords. And then every once in a while, I will try to use part of that arpeggio. Let's give that a try. I'll start with just a few phrases. Minor blues. So I use the second position here, but it's the same with the first, same exact notes. I'm going to continue with minor blues. Let's try that arpeggio, half diminished. Interesting, right? There it was. It had some tension, and it works because that note that is tensed, which is the half diminished, we're so used to that in the blues context like that. Now, this is just one concept that we're adding to our improv. That alone can get repetitive too, just like anything really. But if you tie this concept of the half diminished arpeggio in any position, not only this one, but anytime you find that half diminished arpeggio, if you tie that with the tricks that we've covered previously, and if you missed those, I'm gonna link to those somewhere in the description. On the first chord, you can play G minor blues with that half diminished arpeggio. On the fourth degree, which in this case is C7, you could play C Mixolydian, which also is G Dorian, same exact notes, so you could play G Dorian. And then on that fifth degree, you can play outside with some outside shapes or some symmetrical scales that, again, we've covered in previous videos, and you can see those in the link below. But I'm going to try all that, and I'll guide you through it as I'm improvising. The first step is to just listen. I'm not going to dive in right away. I'm going to let the backing track set the stage. You don't have to play right away. And then just a few notes, just to give the listener an idea of what's going on. You're introducing yourself into the story. A few phrases, G minor blues. You can always play G minor blues throughout all the chords. It's always going to work. And that's what we're doing here. Let's try that that arpeggio now. Back to G minor blues. Okay, G minor blues, we're gonna get a little fancier. G Dorian. Let's use that shape. Back to G minor blues. G Dorian again. G minor blues with the shape. The arpeggio. Let's play outside. Make sure you go back in. And let's use some outside shapes. And so forth. Okay, I want to address something really quick here. In the previous blues videos that I've done, I've had a few comments telling me that blues should be felt, should be played, and all this theory stuff has no place in the blues. And to some extent, yes, I absolutely agree. I do agree that when you're playing, especially in a form of music like the blues, your heart and your soul should be poured into what you're playing. And as a matter of fact, I think pretty much anything you play, you should have a heart behind it. these concepts, these theory elements, scales, modes, and all those things are just ideas. Of course, if you only play with that mindset, thinking like I was speaking out as I was demonstrating this, you're probably missing out the point. And the only reason I'm giving the names of these things and I'm telling you what I'm doing is because this is a lesson. And this is meant to explain to you why it works. But once you learn why it works, once you have these ideas, well, just use them as sounds. The analogy is when I'm talking to you, when I'm speaking to you, I am not spelling out in my mind every single word that I say. No, I'm just speaking out, and I can share ideas hopefully in the best way possible. But I can do this because I've learned some vocabulary before. I've heard it and I've associated with sounds, words, meanings, and even more so that English is my second language. And so first, I had to learn the rules. I had to learn all the vocabulary. I had to first translate a lot of things from French to English. Now it's fluent. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to translate anymore. But at first, that's what is happening. And learning music is very much like learning a second language. We don't necessarily speak music right away, and that's the analogy. So if you think that these lessons are basically too complex and making something way too complex of something that shouldn't be, well, I agree to some extent. But you've got to, I think if you feel stuck and if you really want to be in control of what you're playing, you have to know the rules, or some of the rules, not all of them. But if you know them, then you have probably better choices. If I never read books that were a little bit above my level of understanding, then I would still be speaking in a like a 3-year-old, and that's not how it works. And that's why we're doing all this. But again, yes, put feeling into what you're playing, absolutely. And I don't think that learning theory and musical concepts like that is going to hinder your ability to play with feel. I was actually afraid of that before I learned music theory. I was afraid that if I understood the rules, I would lose that sense of magic that I had when I would hear a note. I thought that understanding why it worked would make me not appreciate it anymore, and that's just not true. I guess it's like wine. Give wine to a baby, he'd probably spit it out. But now I enjoy wine because I know about it, and same kind of thing. Anyways, I hope this was useful. If you want the guide for this lesson, you can do that. I've got the backing track that is available for you and some charts as well. And if you are on my newsletter, you will have received that already, so don't worry about it. But if you're not, you should sign up. The link is below. It's free. I'll be sending you the backing track that we used today and the charts, and you'll be placed on my newsletter so that you don't miss any other videos. And that's what I had for you today. Thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should, because I have about 3 videos coming every single week helping guitar players like you find their voice, understand this language of music so that you can make better choice to really communicate the way that you want to communicate. Nobody can play the way you play on the guitar. I really believe that. Thanks for watching this. I'll see you next time.